Hey, man.
Hey,
What's going on?
what do you mean? What's going on?
I mean, I don't know. You got something what you got going on this week?
Yeah, well, dude, these are like my show notes. I've been working on this. I assume you've been putting in some effort. Have you been doing that? What do you mean? What's going on?
I mean, I don't know. I just got these things here, and I'm like looking at stuff. Like I got games to look at, and like stuff to play, and I don't know.
Oh,
Oh, jeez.
that's ruined. Anyways, welcome to Karg.
Calling all retro gamers.
Calling all retro gamers.
Calling all
Retro gamers!
Calling
all retro gamers!
What is going on, everyone?
Yeah.
It is me, Rich Haywood from Bacon Ice Cream Production, Team RTFC. Got my main man, Ed, Retro Kill 9.
Yeah.
What's going on? Welcome to another episode of Calling All Retro Gamers, everybody. What's up? What's up? So yeah, we got a cool show for you. Happy New Year, everyone. We've got a bunch of cool topics we're going to talk about today. Some stuff that we've been kicking around, some stuff that actually didn't make it from the last show, because of course that's what we do. We talk, and sometimes things go, sometimes things like just fade. But anyway, we're good. We're all good. So, what is going on, my friend? How was your break?
Oh yes. Good. Got some much needed time off work. Gotta chill and gotta spend more time with the VS and purple handheld and all that. And hey, hobbies, Retro Kill just for you, my friend.
What's going on, Ian? What's up?
So yeah, all is good. And actually, the shirt that I'm wearing, my brother-in-law gave me. So I guess need you.
Nice. That is a very cool shirt. That is a very cool shirt.
Thank you.
I'm of course rocking my Sheldon Cooper shirt. It's the Astro Smash shirt that he wore in the show, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Very, very good stuff. Very good stuff. Hey, what's up?
So what have you been up to over the break?
What's up?
What have you been up to over the break?
Oh yeah, just hanging in. It was awesome to have the family around, especially during like the critical, Christmas dinner time. It was such a great time to just have everybody in and around the table and having good times. There were some cool things that dropped, as far as like things that might have been under a tree that I have to wait for. But it is very cool. I'm very, very excited about my retro gift.
Yeah.
Because it'll be, I don't know, a couple more months. I think late April, early May or something like that is what they're projecting. But I will have a Polymega in my hands. And that's going to be real good times.
Yep.
I'm
I know
very
what your next
excited
fun for
about that.
5 will be.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, I don't even know we're not gonna need a question mark Wednesday anymore.
Right. Well, this isn't a Polymega, but let's see if you can kind of. There we go.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
PlayStation.
Well, see, it is technically Polymega related. You put PS1 discs into the Polymega and play some great PlayStation games. I'm gonna be like importing the ever-loving everything out of all of those games.
Oh yeah.
And then I'm gonna patch them all. It's gonna be great.
That'll be awesome.
I can't wait to get it.
So real good. My daughter actually gave that to me for Christmas, which is pretty cool. And what's neat is that actually my wife saw that I think months ago, like at Five Below. And I'm gonna had her get that, and it's officially licensed, which I'm amazed that it's a knockoff. So yeah, so
that's awesome.
That's really cool. Yes. So I got my video game mug and got shirts and Ziggy. Ooh. Some golden apple questions. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's good. Hey, I'll take all the golden apples I can get. You got to fill those life bars, right?
Yeah.
That's good times. Yeah. Cool. Hey, what's up, Ziggy? Yeah. I mean, I can't wait. I can't wait to get my hands on this thing. It's gonna be. That's gonna.
Yeah, I know
awesome.
that'll be really cool.
It's gonna be really, really cool.
Even though I knocked the Polymega, it's still a cool device.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I think for me, really, the whole Polymega thing is just the gateway in order to play more games that I didn't get to play. And it really is. I hate to say this, but it really is just really for me to experience one game. And I know it's not even really that good. I just don't care. I want to play Lunar Walking School so bad that I am willing to do this and get this thing in my hands, which is going to be cool. So, but I just can't wait. That's just going to be every single one of the things I do when that hits. It's just going to be instant, nonstop, me wide-eyed, grin from ear to ear. It's gonna be great.
Oh yeah, talk about nostalgia. I'm loving this shirt. Thanks.
Yes.
You know what? Maybe speaking of consoles, maybe that's a good segue into our first topic.
I think so. We're talking about some cool things that did come out recently, such as the Analog Pocket. So we pose a question: is the Analog Pocket necessity or luxury? Let's dig into this one.
All right, so let me start, and I gotta be so I gotta be honest. And I remember like when I talked to you over the phone. So when I saw like when the Analog Pocket released, and I saw like all like popular YouTubers got it and opened it up and everything. And I remember we were talking, Rich, I told you this, and I feel bad. I had the biggest FOMO for anything in my life, and I hate that. Like I felt like left out. Like I wanted an Analog Pocket just for the sake of, I was like, oh man, that's so cool, and the screen and everything. And then I saw some more reviews on it, and so some people talked a little bit candidly about like the cartridge slot, like how it's kind of loose. And we know the Analog does have a history of loose slots, like with their Nintendo. But the other thing too that was kind of puzzling is some people like they put in the Game Gear adapter, and I'm like, to me it's kind of like kind of silly, like you're gonna have like these like huge honking carts sticking out. Hey, show. So I do, and I don't think the YouTuber formerly known as OEB Pete is in the. I don't know if he's in the chat here. Classy Pete.
Oh no, yeah.
But well, he'll catch us on the replay. So I do want to give a shout out to him because he did, my opinion, one of the most honest reviews on the Pocket.
Yeah.
And so after the FOMO and everything kind of subsided, and I'll share my feelings on it, and then I'll be curious to hear yours. So he did talk about, like, for one, he was like, hey, the form factor is a bit of a miss. It's why didn't they go the horizontal way after holding? And that was kind of a concern, to like after a while, because like having even like you can see the Evercades behind me, very comfortable, that form factor, like the Game Gear was comfortable. And he did talk about like the cartridge slot, like you can have to like baby it, and kind of what he confirmed, a lot of other YouTubers confirmed, is that the screen is awesome. So my thoughts on it are that I'm glad a device like this exists, because at some point, let's say all the Game Boys and everything are going to run out. So it is cool for video game preservation. I don't like the fact that, like, if I have to, like, I could understand like a Polymega maybe waiting a few months, but like waiting a year, waiting into 2020, it's like, because here's my whole thing. And you like, if you watch other like YouTubers from Game Boys and what it's like at some point, like, it's not a Game Boy. It's it's a clone system, but it's far removed. Like for me personally, I would want it just to have like a better lit screen. And if I've like looked around Etsy, and actually like this one person for around like $250, you can get either a GBA SP or the the purple factor for like $250, fully modded out, where it's like an IPS screen, cool shell, USB-C charge, basically everything you'd want. So for me, it's like, yeah, I can do turbo graphics and all that other stuff, but like I would want it just to play like Game Boy games. If it was even a necessity. I still like my SP. It doesn't have the biggest screen, but it gets the job done. So I think it's a cool system. For me, I'd rather just have like an original modded Game Boy for the nostalgia feel. If somebody does want it to play however want it to play Game Boy, make it easier for them, yes, because doing modding yourself is difficult. But to me, in the future, having like, yes, it can play Link's games and all that, but you're gonna have this thing sticking out, and to me that's going to be a little bit ridiculous. And then the last thing I'll throw out here is that, like all analog products, it's going to get jailbroken, and so I have a feeling like you'll be able to load. It'll become like a portable Mister, and then I'm like, well, then you might as well just go buy a Mister, and then it kind of defeats the purpose of either like of having like physical media and having curated collections and and things like that. And then while it does offer a dock, I'm like, well, if you're getting it just to play on your TV, then you're losing out on the nice screen. So then it's kind of like pointless, and
right. Well, I mean, so let me jump in here. So in that sense, if you are a dock player, right? So for me, whenever I play handheld games, probably from now on, now that things like the VS exist and my Retron exist, if I'm going to play handheld games, I mean, I'm probably just going to stick them in my Retron, and yeah, I know, Analogues' whole business is FPGA, right? It's like recreating the exact experience at the exact, pixel ratio and the exact sound replication and all of that kind of stuff. And that's awesome. That's awesome for people that are into that. But for me, if I already have that stuff, right? So there's going to be more GBA games and Game Boy games and all that kind of stuff. Probably, hopefully, maybe even Game Gear games and that kind of stuff that's going to wind up appearing on Evercade. So I'm going to get a collection. I'm going to have those games on. I'll put them in my VS. Oh, I don't have that? All right, cool. Well, if I know that there's just a game that's just not going to show up, I can get that cart and put it right in my Retron and play it that way. I'm not too worried about the FPGA stuff. But you're right. It's a product that exists for people that want it, right? It's a really niche product. It's a boutique product. Think like, this is the Apple in video game space, right? They're the super hardware guys. Everything's very super expensive. It's nice and shiny. It's nice and bright. But it's not going to be for everyone. Right?
Yeah,
and the price point definitely says it's not for everyone.
Right.
But yeah, for me, I don't know. I don't know if I've ever really wanted any of the products from Analog, because it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know. I just don't feel that whole FPGA thing is it for me. But it's also because I am somebody that, at least used to own physically all of the original hardware in very good working condition. So it's like, do I need another thing that does the same thing as my other thing? Yeah, okay. The other ones have HDMI port and like they have all that other cool things, but I don't know. I mean, that's just me. That's just me.
Hey, Ian Hobbies and Show have some things to say about that.
Yeah. Let's dive in here. I mean,
Love the feedback.
We got all sorts of cool stuff. People jumping into this chat, guys. Jump in on this. Let's do this. Ian Hobbies here. Here's my take. Screen is insane. Did not pursue getting an Ambernick handheld, etc. before I have my hands on this. I purchased it expecting a jailbreak soon. Modding OG cells is great, but it offers a dock and a great OS. And the OS is going to be able to be patchable, right? You're going to be able to add features. Some of the things that I saw as far as feedback goes from Pete when he did his review and live stream on the Analog Pocket was there were some things that weren't yet in that firmware that he wants to. That's some crazy times happening.
Evil Knievel.
Yeah, right. But yeah, he wants some things to be inside of the firmware. They're not yet in the firmware. So, but that's that's stuff that can get updated.
Right.
So that's some awesome feedback. Let's go to show real quick. It's a person who owns both a Pocket as well as a Mister. I can tell you the Pocket screen is beautiful indeed. Yeah. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I mean, every feedback that I've seen on anybody's videos, it's the only thing that's like the shining star of this whole thing is that screen is just awesome.
And you know what? Before you read the next comment, then I have one other criticism about the one thing that I don't like, just to get the carrying cases, they're like they nickel and dime you for each of the add-on adapters. That's kind of the my other problem, like almost even worse than Polymega. At least with Polymega, you're getting a control. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the other.
Well, yeah, I was about to say Polymega does the same thing.
Well, so here's the thing. For the fun of it, I priced it out, and it was like $220. And then shipping was another $20, and then tax is like another $20, and then if you just got like one accessory, like the carrying, you're already at $300. And so that's what I was like, and then you throw the dock on top of that. So for me, for that cost, then you could just get a consolizer. But yeah, it's kind of like the flexibility. But then Pete did talk about he said they should have designed the dock, but it's a little bit fragile connecting. So
yeah,
good stuff.
Ian says, just like an Evercade, it's a celebration of handheld greats. Yeah, Game Boys and Game. Yeah, absolutely,
yes.
Absolutely. You also get the added benefit of playing docked, removing it, taking it on a trip. Yeah, of course. But now, on the other side, we still have that on the Evercade side too, right? Obviously, you got handheld mode and VS mode. Handheld mode for me now is that thing's right in my travel bag. I'm always going to have a handheld in the travel bag charged up.
So
I'm about to go on a trip. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go on a trip at the end of this month, and that handheld is going to be in my bag. Easy access on homebrew games. Yeah. Analog needs a store of some sort to easily curate homebrew, etc. That's a great point, Ian. I would love to see that. Another angle that they can carve in to a market to differentiate themselves from maybe somebody else that's doing stuff just on the hardware side. Very cool. And then Mr. functionality outstrips the Pocket at the moment. I don't think there'll be a handheld Mister on the horizon. Value of the Pocket will only increase many if it's jailbroken. Yeah, of course, because there'll be people that want to go in and get in on that stuff, right? As soon as it is cracked wide open, the possibilities are endless at that point, right?
Yeah.
Somebody can load a custom core and you're off to the races doing whatever it is on the hardware. You totally do that. You can totally do that. Yeah, definitely nickel and dime. There's yes.
But see, that's the other thing though that I think, like, could I be disciplined just to have the physical media? Because then you run into the curse of emulate. The kind of like the curse of emulation, where yes, I can play a bazillion games, but then then it's like, where do you start and what? See, even like if I felt for me, if I really wanted to go that route, I would just get a multi-cart, or like a flash cart. But I purposely refrain from doing that because I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. And see, so funny that you said you bring your Evercade. Like, the one thing I wish somebody, like, what would have me more sold on this is if they did like an updated form factor like the SP, because then I can put in my pocket.
Oh, yeah.
And you could get even like that. And I mean, I guess technically you could put an Evercade in your pocket, but I don't know.
Oh, I mean, I've had my Evercade in my pocket. So I have so during the summertime I wear cargo shorts. Like, that's just like my mode of every day as I'm in cargo shorts during the summertime. And the pockets are so huge. I could literally put cased games, not the cartridges, cased games, 2 or 3 in one pocket, and the charger and the Evercade in the other side of my shorts. It's crazy.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah, you have everything in one place. So you play nothing. Yeah, right. That is the curse of having that wide open space where you got that cart, right?
It is.
I think actually Pete was playing on his live stream. I think he was playing with a flash cart in the pocket. Because he brought up this menu when he was switching between games and stuff. So that had to have been, I think, a cart or something like that.
Yeah. For me, and just like a lot of different devices, I just don't want to fall into the trap of I spend more time configuring the device than playing games. You know what I mean? So but then again, like playing gold. Yeah, like Ian Hobbies. Yeah, he's put one skill. Yeah. You can play. See, that's the cool. If you can be disciplined, that's awesome. That would look so beautiful. So there are good like applications for it like that. Totally.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but also too, like it's a good point for that kind of stuff, right? So unless Sega deems it worthy to do things like release Golden Axe Warrior, for people that want to experience these games, their only opportunity to do so is to go in what I call the eye patch route. Get in that pirate ship and go through and grab your ROM and throw it on somewhere that you can play it. And I think that's unfortunate because the Golden Axe Warriors is a perfect example. And, I'm going to beat that drum every day of the week, all day, because it's just such a great game. But I was lucky enough to find one at a price I was willing to pay. This game, the cart complete, is not cheap. It is not cheap at all. So, it lends itself to like devices like these wind up having an open space where you can get one of these little cartridges and play your game. So I get it. But I also get the point of the other person that says, no, you need to, like respect the market, right? Get the hardware, get the game if you really want to play it. And I get that too. But sometimes there's some games that are just so far out of reach it's almost like, I mean, come on.
Oh yeah.
You know, like
But then
you expect somebody to drop like $600-700 on system, controller, and game just to experience the one game. Like that's.
But then you have to ask
a little out of reach.
Exactly. Then you have to ask yourself the question of like, to play something like Golden Axe Warrior, would it be just good enough for me to play it on my PC? Like, does it have to be played on the analog? You know, on the analog pocket. So that's kind of the other.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. For me, you gotta have a controller.
Of course.
You gotta have a controller in hand.
Yeah. No, I agree. I've always said I don't want to play on a PC. Yes, exactly. And I've been down this, dude. I've been down this route just with like RetroArch and my Fire Stick. You can, and so I know like Mister is like times 50 of that. Like I would get lost down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. Well, hey, Dan. I mean, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. And hey, there he is.
Yeah.
We talk about the Pete, and
he shows up. And this might sound kind of silly too, but the other thing with the Pocket is it doesn't have the nostalgia. Like for example, like booting up like my Game Boy SP, just that ding, and it's saying Game Boy like that. Like it gets me ready to play. I mean, it may sound kind of silly, but maybe like with you, like with the Master System BIOS, you know, it's like you want to.
Yeah.
It gets you.
Oh yeah,
it gets you ready.
Well, the startup noise, you just feel like you're in it. So that doesn't happen on my Retron, but I have it on every one of my videos because it just takes me there, right?
Yeah.
And then you can play Master System on the Pocket with an adapter, but it's near impossible. Like physically.
Yeah, he tweeted that out. He was like he had it running, but he's like, don't expect to really be able to play it.
It was just like, you know, like it was like here, like you get the cartridge. It's just like,
yeah,
you know, like you're gonna be holding it. It's just like that'd be wild.
That they're gonna do that because they're just gonna expect everybody to jailbreak it and play ROM. You know what I mean? I think they're going to eventually do that, but it's going to be ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, that's a good point, Pete. You know, is it an all luxury? Of course, we're talking about, you know, like let's have all these pieces of plastic we love to play video games on, right? You know, like it's just, you know, that is kind of in and of itself it's all luxury, but I mean, there is another level now, right? You know, Analog is creating that other level. The Mister is creating that other level. Like, you know, like you've now transcended to, you know, boutique status, right? So it's pretty crazy. Yeah, right. Well, yeah, exactly. See, it was at docked. I'm back to my Retron. So I mean, I know again, FPGA versus, you know, non, but still.
But see, that's my whole thing with such a beautiful screen and everything. It would be almost a crime to play it in dock mode. I get you want to be able to play those games easily, but you know, then it's kind of like, well, I don't know.
Yeah,
kind of torn between that. But cool. No, great stuff. And yeah, guys, keep jumping in there. We want you to keep commenting.
It's awesome. Oh well, hey. There we go. That's a good point too. From Pete again. It was actually cheaper than getting the GBA modded with an LCD screen. So Analog wins. I mean, it's a great point because you get a good piece of hardware, and then you want it if you want it modded. The only difference would be like if you had to have that form factor, right?
Yeah,
like absolutely had to have.
I would say technically with the taxes and shipping, it's a little bit more expensive, but
yeah.
I found someone on Etsy for $250 free shipping in the US at least.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, that's what I was saying. If you don't want to mess with all that type of stuff and you want something on newer hardware, but yeah, I agree. Like, I don't care if it's like software emulation, FPGA, as long as the end result, as long as it sounds good and looks good.
Yeah.
You know, then we're good.
Dan saying, why isn't Pete there? He's firing back. I wasn't invited. There's always a door open for my buddy Pete. There's always a door. You want to be in, you know where to find me. You know where to find me. That invite will slip right by you.
Well, we'll have him be a special guest at some point.
Exactly, of course. Yeah, we got to get him on. We got to get him on. We got to get Crow on. We got to get all sorts of people on. But that might be, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, we got to get Metal Jesus first.
Our plans. We got plans. So the takedown, how's the build quality of the Analog Pocket? Does it feel cheap at all? So, I mean, to perfectly honest, the takedown, I don't have one. I don't have an Analog Pocket to hold, and I haven't held one. But I don't know. I mean, from what I'm hearing, it doesn't feel it doesn't feel cheap.
It
It feels like a very good product.
Yes.
Just that there's something about it. There's something about it, like, there's things that work for people and there's things that don't work for people. So only patients are required of getting unit. Paco to solid hardware. Yeah. He says no thanks. Rather listen to these people spending an hour this week with us. Enough. Oh, ouch, man.
Ow!
Oh, my goodness. Shows back. Yes, essentially that's the idea. They play however you want. Some people don't care as long as it plays and feels how they remember. Exactly. So, yeah. No, it's just I think it was just a topic that we wanted to discuss.
Yeah.
And it kind of maybe led to like, why don't we have an analog pocket, right? And we discussed that a little bit in the very beginning. For me, it's just for handheld stuff. I've got other options, and I'm not into that whole, I need the FPGA. I'm not into that whole, like, I need the beautiful LCD. I can, get my fix on the road, and when I come home, I've got things that I can plug all of my cartridges into, so I'm good. I'm cool. So, and Ed here had similar things to say. So that's pretty cool. So what do you think? What do you think there, buddy? We want to go on to the next topic, or?
Oh yeah, and it's a
it's a doozy for different reasons, I think. So it is why do either I or Ed why do we not play MMOs anymore? That's a cool topic. It's a cool topic thing. So so yeah, we want to kick it off, Ed.
Yeah, okay. So let me start. Okay. So we have a little history on, because I just going through the timeline, I could take the rest of our time. So when I got involved in MMOs initially, it was around 2003, when World of Warcraft was huge, right? And at that time, it was just $15 a month. There was none of this free to play nonsense. There was nothing. There was nothing else. It was just you played a flat fee, much like buying a physical game, and you got access to everything. And then you'd have to pay for expansions and all that good stuff. So yeah, I did have fun. I was one of those people that would re-roll new characters, never kind of get to the the end of the game. And initially, and let me just say this too: when World of Warcraft first came out, it was difficult. Like it wasn't easy and all this. It was actually challenging. You had to group up. And then at some point I played like Lord of the Rings for a while. And that one was very tough. As a matter of fact, there were certain quests that they called fellowships. Like they actually forced you to group. And so that made it really challenging. And then over time played various MMOs. And so some of the problems is that like once an MMO becomes free to play, in my opinion, it's ruined. Because at that point they take, like Lord of the Rings, like when I tried going back to that later, it was a heck of a lot easier, and it just didn't have the heart of it. And so I played a bunch of them. For me, like the Star Wars Online, well, that was a lot of fun. You could go through, make choices. Did get to the end.
Which one? Which one?
The very first one,
or Old Republic.
Not the old school one. I wish I got to play that one, which was a skill based. No, I never got to play that one. Which, as actually another point I get, it was the second one. But to be honest, the problem that I had with that game is I felt like EA that never should have been an MMO. That just should have been a store, because I feel like they made you pay a monthly sub and on top of a game for something that was really just story driven. And then the same problem with that, kind of like Dungeons and Dragons Online and all that. Once you get to the end of an MMO, then it's just raiding. Then it really didn't become fun. So you're just grinding to get better gear, and there's all the politics. But I'll tell you what the real rub was for me too, is that every MMO comes out, they claim all these features, they're going to do all this cool stuff, and then nothing gets delivered. But there was one company supposedly who was going to do that, and that was Sony with EverQuest, right? So the EverQuest, as it's known today, is like way too easy. It's really WoW-like. The old school EverQuest, there were Sony let these servers exist. It was called like Project 1999, where you could play it back then. Was way too hard. So what Sony did in its brilliance, you just paid the $15 a month sub is they recreated EverQuest where it wasn't super hard, but it wasn't super easy. But like getting a +1 sword was difficult. You could actually farm stuff. And then that whole game was just kind of fun. They made it really, really fun. And, and I remember like finding people grouping up until there was an alchemy bug. And I don't really know how it worked, but basically it was a license to print money. Like you got all these things and something you would grind for that was like 4,000 plat, which is a lot. Maybe it would be like 400,000 plat. So basically money became meaningless. They ruined that game. And what I loved about that game so much is that like a tank could only be a tank. You actually were forced to group with people. It forced you to socialize. You needed for some things you really needed a priest to heal. A shaman could kind of do both. Actually, I love playing a shaman because you were a good secondary healer. You could kind of sit back and chill, but you like being a healer though, you had to time things. It was a well-made MMO. And then that just kind of burned me. And then really it's just kind of like MMOs. They've lost their spirit. They're just easy. A lot of them are like, you can throw money at it. I think now what MMOs are good for are people if you want to socialize, but they're not what they used to be. Other than being a time sink, that's other than being when my daughter was born like 13 years ago, I had to kind of abandon that, and then I kind of gravitated to other online games where you could jump in and jump out. But yeah, it's just too much of a time sink. I don't like how these companies kind of lock you into either a subscription or now they just they can have predatory practices on hiding things behind paywalls, making things almost as fun. I mean, the social aspect in the community can be great, but it's just, they just become more of like a cash grab. So that's kind of in a nutshell something I've been wanting to say why I don't, and I haven't played MMOs in years kind of because of that. So
yeah. And for me, it's one of those things where I dabble in MMOs. So why don't I play MMOs like the way I used to play MMOs anymore? I mean, you kind of hit it on the head too. Life changes you, right? You have a kid and then another kid and then more responsibilities at work. You climb that ladder and now you don't have any time, right? The time is the ultimate currency of which you cannot make more of, right? So and you just got to choose. You got to choose, what do I want to play? If it was up to me, and some games still exist like that, I would be playing Star Wars Galaxy still, and I would just consume copious amounts of hours playing that. I would be playing EverQuest Online Adventures for the PS2. I played that. That was awesome. I played some Elder Scrolls Online. That was a pretty fun one. But another one I put a huge amount of time in was City of Heroes.
Dude, I remember that.
That game was so much fun.
You could get lost in the character creation. Yeah,
exactly. And it was cool because you had to how am I going to make my character creator so I can make Superman, right? Yeah, that's what everyone wants to do. And you go and you work hard and you kind of make your own version of the coolest whatever you want. In my case, it was Superman because I'm a huge Superman fan. But then it was almost heartbreaking to then play later on DC Universe Online, which a lot of people like. It's a good game, but it's also oh man, they just needed to make City of Heroes and just put the DC license on it. And that would have been over.
Yeah.
Over.
Yeah, that was a shell of you bring up another good point too. So you sink all this time and everything, and then for whatever reason a company closes it down. I mean, you would think as long as it's making some money, because there was a point in time too where I honestly felt like if I wasn't playing a game that was online where I could level and show status, I was wasting my time. Yeah, there was a point in so versus you could just slap in a physical cart, play it for a few hours, get the same joy, and then because it's physical media, you control over it. You don't have to worry about it being shut down or somebody patches and drastically changes and ruins the game. But yeah, City of Heroes, that was the way they did the group system was good. I think you could group with people a higher level and they kind of balanced it. So that game was another brilliant one. A lot of fun, and it wasn't fantasy related either. So that was another. It was kind of a nice change.
It was kind of continue to break the mold a little and give you some more options. Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. I got into and dabbled a little bit with Pete actually on some Star Wars: The Old Republic. I had missed out the boat on that. My life was I cannot MMO right now when that was really in its prime. And then of course, Final Fantasy 14, which Pete's been just going to town on. It's such a good game. That game is so good, but it's like I just don't. I can't. I want to so badly. I just want, and I want it. That would be the one today that would make me open the wallet and continue to pay if I had the time to play. If I had the time to sit down and actually commit to play another MMO, I would dive back in to experience more of Final Fantasy 14 because I thought that my initial experience was awesome. I knew I got hooked, but I had to push myself away because I'm like, I will do nothing. Like I won't play any of this anymore. I won't play any of that anymore. There'll be no more Evercade for me. There'll be no arcades. There'll be nothing. I would just play that game, and then I'm like, I can't.
See, that's I mean, it takes over.
So much fun doing all this stuff.
Yeah, it could take over your life. I mean, when I was into that remake of EverQuest, I remember like on a work day being up to like 2 or 4 o'clock in the morning. You know, like being up like half the night. I'm like, oh god, this isn't good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So let's dip in because I mean the chat's going nuts here. So,
yes.
So let's go here. Like, we start off with the MMOs. Now this is my jam. And Pete mentions Lord of the Rings Online and Star Wars: The Old Republic, FF14, Champions Online, which is another cool one. Elder Scrolls Online. What's STO? What is STO? Huh. Well, maybe Pete will say, like, hey, STO is this one. The Secret Shame.
Secret Shame.
Yeah, I mean, it's not so secret. I mean, Pete's been like, oh, I love playing MMOs. He spun up he actually once upon a time, he spun up an MMO channel and was doing like MMO stuff because he wanted to play so much. But it's like, that's such a time. It's such a time sink. Elder Scrolls Online is still great. Fun to just run around in the world that they crafted. I agree with that. Some of those worlds, because again, they're so huge, you can just get lost and just run around in forever. Sometimes it's great to just get one of those like free trials or whatever and just take a tour one day, just to walking around. It's pretty cool. Show says never stop playing. 14. Yeah, I mean that's cool. I mean, were you one of the Were you one of the ones that started at the beginning of the beginning before Realm Reborn, and then like had the Realm Reborn moment? That to me, like those players that were playing original FF14, where they did the whole thing and they started threading in the storyline of how they were going to break the world in order to actually recreate it and relaunch that. That was probably the coolest thing I think I've ever seen a company do to revitalize a product, bar none. That was awesome. That was such a cool story. And it made me wish that I was part of that community to see that moment happen.
Nice.
It's like, from the stories that I hear, I was like, wow, that's better than anything that I have seen in group play. And the only other group play thing that's kind of MMO like that I really got into in the last 5 to 6 years was Destiny. And there were some great moments there. And that is kind of like an MMO light kind of action there too, which was pretty good. But that was like, that's crazy. Pete says, going through the story quest in FF14 now over the holidays, went from the base game, just finished Heaven's Sword, moving close to the next subscription. What an awesome story and an expansion. That's awesome. That's cool. That's very cool. Shows us we call it the endless treadmill. The social aspect is definitely amazing. However, especially in these times, you're right. You're absolutely right. Because people could, I know people that have entered into like not only just like friendships online, but that some of those people have had those experiences, have grown into committed relationships, and then like even marriages. I know people that have met online, play these games, go on all these wild adventures, wind up meeting like a couple years later in real life, hit it off, and then boom, marriage happens.
See,
so
and again, for all the stuff that I said, I think the social aspects, I think it's great for people who are into them. It's just with all the reasons we've talked about, times and everything else, and everything else. But I think it's good that they're there for people.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, like these kind of games are not for everyone.
Yeah.
Pete says your take's not accurate for all the MMOs I play. That's for sure. Again, because we're talking about things that are subjective, right? Like you have an opinion from what your experiences were, and Pete has
Correct.
his experiences.
Exactly.
Right. So Story for FF14 is brilliant, one of the best in-game stories as well ever. I mean,
Nice.
I kind of agree. And again, it's just one of those things like and it would break the experience, of course, but it almost wishes like man, if they could distill that story beat, those story beat moments, and then put out like a kind of like an FF12, which is really like FF12 was, in my opinion, the kind of the pilot that built what became FF14, and the way that they had the battle system and the quest system in the world that they built. That would be cool if they kind of like distilled it down or like demade the storyline elements of the game so that other players that didn't have enough time to play this huge, giant, epic adventure could experience the story. I think it would be awesome. Best story in MMO. Again, the Old Republic, FF14, and Lord of the Rings Online. I mean, yes, the lore in the Lord of the Rings Online is enough for any Lord of the Rings fan to just go nuts over. FF14 again, we were just talking about, and you get the Old Republic, right? So you get all these elements of these great games that came out in the early Xbox generation moving forward. All those Old Republic games, and then now you get more lore to have more adventures. Of course. Only a third of the way through FF14. It's awesome. May take over because he plays 3 Pete on the main. Those 3 that you just mentioned, Lord of the Rings, FF14, and the Old Republic. Man, I wish I had the time for that, man. Oh my God, yes. Knights of the Old Republic so far is 5 different overarching stories with 8 class stories intertwined. That's crazy, right? Like what a labyrinth that is.
Yeah. Maybe it's like too much though. It's like
God. Yeah. Character creation was awesome. Yeah. Also, I play
8 years old. Yeah.
Wow, that's just crazy.
Yeah, because they're going to be around there for a while.
Yeah. Key point. I play all MMOs for IP. Yep. Like the main story, side quests are not my jam. Yeah, so it's a good point. You can start to play games like that for that, but there are other games that kind of like power level gate you though, right? Like you can play the main quests and get through them, and that's cool. But there's some games that where you're like, oh well, let me try this quest, and then you just get wrecked, and then you get forced to go to the side path, the side quest route, just so you can build your character,
level up,
finish the story. That's not necessarily what I've heard though from Final Fantasy and the Old Republic. I think you can get through those games, just kind of mainlining it. But again, they're so huge. Yeah, story can be jank, but make amazing experience for Knights of the Old Republic from show. I warn you on Final Fantasy 14. Start with the idea of a story in mind and not collecting everything. Oh, Star Trek Online.
I played that. That was actually kind of fun for the. But here's the other thing too. I kind of glad mentioned Star Trek is that. So for me, MMOs for me the experience that I want would be like much richer. Like I feel like if I'm paying for something that's online, I don't want a static story. I want something that's just like growing. Like for me, like for Star Trek, would disappointed. Like I want to be like the captain of a ship. You know what I mean? Like I want the other people. Like I want an engineer. I want the gunsman. I want the ground. So that's the other problem too. Is that either maybe it costs too much money, but if I'm going to play something that in depth, I want it to be really in depth. Otherwise, give me a fantastic MMO that's like offline that just has an awesome story that's fully in depth. But I think it's great at the same time for people that enjoy those experiences. Yeah, you don't get the online element, but
yeah. So Pete did say and never went to online also playing. Yeah, another good one. Show says he was one of the beta players, him and his girlfriend, playing the original FF14, and they nuked the world with a moon. Wait, that's no moon. That's awesome. That's I mean, that must have been incredible. Again, small story tidbit. When they ended the original 1.0 world, they set super high enemies loose around the world. They went around and murdered people of all levels. That's crazy. That's nuts. Oh my goodness. Pete's back. He says, I love how FF14, the airship is called the Enterprise, and Sid goes engage when he takes off. That's awesome. That's so cool.
Very cool.
They would have high level monsters around the inns and taverns. From show, Pete's back again. Korean MMOs are now what Ed's talking about, pure pay to win. Okay, so yeah, so
that's
even talking about those are like was it Genshin Impact and like that kind of stuff, right?
Yes, but kind of the point that I want to make is I know World of Warcraft you can still pay a subscription. There are very few MMOs that have enough of the player base where you can that don't do some type of free to play. Actually, even World of Warcraft does some type of free to play.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course, then you also have like the black market where you can buy like character accounts and all that type of stuff that people don't like to talk about, but that exists too. So that's kind of what I mean with it all rolled in one. But
right. So Pete has to touch on a topic that we might actually have to talk about a little more on another episode. He said FF14 is the only Final Fantasy I could take for more than an hour. Story is brilliant, world is epic. I'm like, dead. I'm dead right now. Wow. Okay. I mean, it's just there's so many epic moments in some of the other Final Fantasy games that I would love to talk about.
Pete's on a tear.
That was a mission. It's like get Pete to play some of these other older Final Fantasy games because that's wild. That's wild. Takedown says Destiny was the one that took over my life. Yeah, me too, man. Me too. So many good memories running raves with friends. Yes. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, still oh wow. Man, I can't even remember the name of the Shadow something of Vault of Glass. It was the first big raid that ever got released on Destiny 1. It was, and they just knocked it out of the park. It was probably the best raid ever in all of Destiny. And then he said, Destiny 2, I feel really dropped the ball. Did I try? Yeah, I went all in on Destiny 2 as well. Got the collector's edition. Went in through Taken King, the first expansion, all that kind of stuff. I was so in, and then it just fell off. It just fell off for me.
Yeah, and then now it's free to play, and actually you see that disc like in retro stores, like they'll sell it for like $2, and that's kind of what I mean. After a while, that like, so here's my other thing: if I'm paying a subscription like $15 a month to a game, and I imagine it needs to be flawless. You can't just do more than grind quest and all that. And that was and maybe for me it goes back to the mentality when I buy a physical game, I'm getting a complete game, and a lot of MMOs just they kind of always felt like unfinished, like there was more. Like they promised to add all this stuff and then they don't. It's just like,
yeah. So Pete says, Rich, I only play the story. Those are fast and fun. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I hear you, but I also don't, because at the same time, I'm just like so scared to just get in there.
Some Star Trek.
You can have bridge officers and all that in Star Trek Online. You have a captain with away teams and all that.
But it's not like as in depth though. I played the ship combat, but it played more like an arcade game. You know what I mean? Got it. Like I want, and again, maybe I'm asking for too much, but I want it to be like, like there's.
Do you want like Bridge Commander as an MMO? Is that what you're looking for?
I guess so, but something like you hail another ship and you have to make like decisions, and I know there's EVE Online, but something like in
right.
Yeah.
Well, like EVE Online is a job.
Yeah,
that's not a game.
No, yeah. But you know what I mean? It's kind of like the same problem I have with like Rockstar games. Like they tell you have to complete it. You have to complete a quest, but you have to do it this specific way. I'm like at the end, if I, why can't I do it my way? But no, you have to do it the way the game will. And I get it. It's more difficult to do all that advanced programming, but that's
Yep. So yeah, I'm talking about all the games that have subs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, most of these all have, you got to do that somehow. Show says you missed out on Destiny, but always looked fun. I would say even to this day, because you can get it for like $1. Go pick up a copy of Destiny 1 and just get in there. Because even the story itself, you can run through and you can get a fire team together and go through most of the content. And now that they have like that crazy light level thing, you could go into Vault of Glass and probably 3-man it, and it won't be that bad. So yeah. And, I forgot that it went free to play, and it kind of pains me because the money outlay in the very first bit of Destiny 2 when I started playing again, man, that hurt. You put in all that stuff and now it's free to play, and you're like, oh, yikes. MMOs are unfinished by nature. It's 5% of offline games are. Trust me, only 5% of offline games are Flaw. Well, yeah, of course. I mean, nowadays, anyway. Sometimes you can put offline games out that aren't even finished.
Yeah, well, see, that's the problem I have, Pete. If you're paying money towards, I don't like paying for something that's unfinished. That's why, like, I don't like to pre-order for.
Well, yeah, but that's another whole can of worms, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just like, I don't want to pay for games that are unfinished. And like,
offline games are flawed. Well, not flawed. I mean, everything has its flaws.
Assassin's Creed comes over and he's like, "Hey,"
and don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, like, if you enjoy MMOs, that's awesome. I'm just saying that they're not what they used to be. They're more. I mean, because like take someone like my daughter's 13-year-old. She would never want to play like the old school grinding. We want something to be like Roadblocks, where you can the convenience part, throw money at it, have fun. But so I get it.
Exactly.
Essentially unfinished. Yeah.
Show Takedown saying the show. Yeah, maybe you like Destiny 2. I mean, I would say again, jump into any of them. But I would say if you're going to start with somewhere and you just want to dabble, go to Destiny 1 because it's just such a good time. It's so awesome. I loved that game so much, and wanted it to be amazing. And then show saying eternally unfinished is the MMO, of course.
Yeah.
So, but and then I mean, of course, of course, the takedown. Yes, the loot does feel pointless because you get this awesome thing, and then you've got to regrind it, re-roll it, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's crazy. What is Pete saying here? Okay, I'll leave you alone later. This conversation annoys me. I'm gonna play an unfinished money grabbing MMO. Oh my goodness, dude. No, wait. We're gonna talk about another topic in just a second. Or probably
yeah. No, dude, I respect that you're into MMOs. It's totally cool.
Oh yeah, anyone else? I mean, well, like I'm saying, I hearken to your time management skills, Sir Pete. I want to teach me the lessons of how I can manage to fit in any time to play in these MMOs, man.
And be disciplined.
I want to be in. I want to be in.
Yeah.
So, and then Joe says, back to Takedown, I'll definitely take a look, curbing my own MMO time more these days. Yeah, sure. Surely take a look at it. Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, let me know how it is too, because it was a good time. But so we got time, I think, for one more topic.
Okay.
It is kind of a doozy, but we're gonna do it anyway.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah. Which one?
Let's talk about some NFTs. The good, the bad, and the ugly. I guess maybe I can start out.
Yeah.
With talking about this topic. It's kind of weird that people have been talking about this topic in all sorts of different ways, right? Some people that come at the subject, they're like, I have no idea what an NFT is. I just don't like it. Some people have some knowledge of what NFTs are and think that they don't have a place in the marketplace. And then some people have, come in and be like, oh, NFTs, like, give me all of them. I actually fall into none of those categories because I can realize that there are some things about NFTs that are possibly okay for the marketplace. And then there's probably as much, if not more, things that are just like, what? Why in the marketplace? Just why? Why is this happening? Why is this even happening? But before we dig in to all of that, I want to touch on what Ed's take is on this topic before we go too much further.
Okay.
So
Okay.
What do you got here?
So the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay. So yeah, let me kind of summarize what there's some good uses and then some kind of bad things. So I think that where NFTs could be good, let's say in a day and age, to where, let's face it, if you own like a PS4, any modern console, and you buy a CD game, you know, you don't really, the whole like 100 gigabit game isn't on there. That CD is essentially your key to play the game. It'll install like 10 gigs, and then you'll go to the online store and download another 100 gigs.
Yeah.
And then we all know that over time, those discs are, susceptible to wear and all that. So I think if you had used an NFT is like a key to play a game, yeah, you're just have to download it online. I think that's fine. And then you have like NFT readers and all that good stuff. The bad, so here's my main issue with it is then any online store at the end of the day, will go down. This is supposed to be on the blockchain, but what I think would have to happen, and we're maybe years away from this, is that if they said, hey, this is the central database where all NFTs are going to be stored. So then let's say like anytime you buy something that's digital, you own it. Not only that, I think there needs to be a centralized database. So, kind of something like Ready Player One, in that game, like, when you dial, your loot pops off, but it's like bound. So it's bound to my account. So I have like Retro Kill-9 set up in this NFT, all my PlayStation stuff, all my other things. Do I dare say Amico? I think we're saying, anything, or it could even be artwork, anything else. It's bound to that. It's my identity, and I can sell it on that market. And that way you're not relying on one server or anything else. Because, like Nintendo is famous for its shops to go down. So I think if you could centralize it, it would be an awesome way to kind of like have ownership of all your digital stuff. At the very least, I think it'd be cool to be able to use as like a key to unlock things without having a better quality media than a CD. So that's kind of my take on that show.
All right, cool. So let me ask you a question before we go any further. What is your take on what people are starting to see or feel is NFTs right now? And that's in itself making one-offs of digital things, digital artwork, digital audio, digital movie files, or whatever. What do you think about that particular side of the market?
So I think the problem, I guess, so I know what you mean. That like maybe like I think didn't like was it like Ubisoft do this in their Epic store? Like they like said, here's all this like cosmetic stuff. And like now, like they're just like NFT is just being thrown around as a buzzword. Like really, it's being used as another word for just like digital stuff. Yep. Like it may not even be on the blockchain. It may not even be in a database. The whole meaning of what an NFT is lost. So here's my whole kind of thing. Like if let's say, and I know kind of talked about this, like if let's say like, I don't know, you had like, like PewDiePie's like rifle from a game, like that's just cosmetic, and somebody's willing to throw out a boatload of money just to get that cosmetic item just for bragging rights. That isn't a pay to win, which would be an item that actually like gives you a bonus damage. By all means, I think it's the biggest waste of money, but if somebody wants to do it, I think that's fine. But then again, that doesn't have to be like an NFT. You know what I mean? So the problem is the buzzword gets thrown around there, and then it actually gets lost of what an NFT really, really is, which is a shame. Yeah. Well, and I don't like how people are spinning it to be that. And then you're losing the true sight of, hey, this is just another way to have a key to unlock stuff, and it kind of essentially.
So I agree with you there, and to kind of like build upon that, there are major, huge companies out there right now that I think are misunderstanding what the NFT probably will wind up being. And you hit the nail on the head in the beginning by saying, so NFTs as some kind of secure serial or secure authentication or secure key device is probably the way it's going to wind up going. I've been thinking of that, and I've been saying that to like, people like yourself and other people, private conversations and that kind of stuff for a long, long time. I think that's where this thing is going. Now, for things like this, for example, we're going to cover our faces by showing this real quick. Things like this, for example, to me, make absolutely no sense at all. All right. I am a huge New York Jets fan, right? What you just saw was my NFT for attending the last home game of the season at MetLife this week, right? We played the Bucks. The Bucks inadvertently broke my heart because I thought we were going to get them. And then the Jets broke the golden rule of do not give Tom Brady more than a minute 59 at the end of the game to do anything, because he will do all of it and then score and beat you. And that's what happened.
You know,
I'm
glad you brought that. I'm glad you brought that up, because it'd be like going to a concert, right? And then you're getting like a virtual ticket, which means nothing. You know, it's like like having like the physical ticket stubs mean something. Kind of the same way with like artwork. Like really, like just having that be digital doesn't mean anything as a physical. And when it becomes like a gimmick, and they're like, oh well, you can go here, we'll give you the NFT of this virtual thing. That's pointless. Like who's gonna want that? They're giving those out like a dime a dozen. They're all gonna be the same. But actually having that ticket that was in your pocket, that was touched, that was felt, that was there. Plus, a lot of people throw those away. You know what I mean? Like that actually has some more value. If you're looking for a collectible, it actually has some value having the physical ticket. So yeah, I agree. Yeah, those type of NFTs are totally ridiculous, and that's just like a total gimmick. Like I hate that type of.
And I think that's what's happening, right? They wind up muddling the conversation. They wind up getting in the way, and you wind up getting into a position where you're like, no, this doesn't make any sense. You know, this isn't like talking about these types of things doesn't make any sense, because in my opinion, it's meaningless, right? So you have an NFT of a digital piece of artwork from an artist, right? So you buy that NFT. It's like, oh, I have the NFT. Yeah, but it's just a picture, right? So if you were able to digitally recreate the picture without the digital marker, it doesn't matter, because then you have the image at the same resolution as the other image. So that makes it pointless, right? The only thing that would be different is if you had, say, for example, a physical piece of artwork that someone painted, right? And then this is a one-off, right? This is art, right? You know, like, and yes, there's digital art is also art, but you know, digital art can be recreated. You can replicate all those bits. So making them what is called, you know, the NFT stands for non-fungible token, right? It's supposed to be a digital item that's not able to be manipulated or changed. Okay, great. So now I have something that looks exactly like that ticket example, right? All those tickets, all 20,000 of them that gave away on Sunday, look exactly the same. So there's no uniqueness to them at all. That doesn't make any sense. If they were unique, if each one of those tickets had your seat number, for example, your name, your something else on it, okay, maybe that makes it a little bit different. But if you're just rehashing the same digital thing over and over again, calling it an NFT and you go, oh, well, now you can sell it for thousands of dollars on the blockchain. No, none of that makes any sense.
You know, Arch, there's only one way that would kind of work with artwork. So let's say that painting that you had, let's say you bought that from the artist, and let's say you got a digital version, and let's say it said like 35, like, you know, there was some unique thing. And let's say because there's this global NFT database, you could go into Roblox, you could go into an MMO, and then you could hang that digital thing like in your house. Mm-hmm. That might appeal to some. That might appeal to some people. If you got the physical object, if you could use those digital objects in some games, that might be kind of cool. It doesn't replace at all the physical thing, but it might be. It might be an added bonus. Like, yeah, I'd rather have that physical painting, but if my character in an MMO could have it, that might be kind of cool. Maybe. Right.
Or say, okay, so let's open the box a little. This is a little outside of like retro. We're talking about actually cutting edge technology, really. But so let's say to make a point, Show's saying here, you know, he's always argued that the younger generation doesn't care all for physical media of any kind. It's harder for people over to 35 to understand this, which is, you know, leaning into like, you know, people want these NFTs because they're tchotchkes. Like people are used to using V-Bucks to get the cool hat in Fortnite, or, you know, like whatever it is, whatever the currency is in NBA 2K to get whatever, you know, any of that stuff. Yeah, absolutely. You know, Show's agreeing with you, Ed, that that's it, right? You know, so what happens though in, say, let's take Meta for example, right? You know, the new Facebook name, right?
Ooh.
So what happens in Meta when they decide to start advertising things that happen or exist inside of alternative reality, inside of AR, that are only seen by you or people you want to have seen, and those objects become able to be purchased because they're NFT. So that makes it a digital object that is then non-fungible, that can be transferred from some person to some person else. It makes it matter to them because it's theirs, right? It's not physically theirs, obviously. It's a just digital asset, but it's something that then can be unique to them, right? And it has that marker that makes sure that they own it when they pass it.
Yeah, but then
Yeah,
it's
go
like,
ahead.
how important is that? But then the other thing that could be bad, like let's say you want to find, like, us as content creators, you want to find like a red arrow to point on the screen, right? I would hate to have the day where like Google Images doesn't exist. Like I'd have, even if it was like 10 cents, I'm like, really? I have to like actually pay to use, something that's non-copyrighted that I could have found before because now it's an NFT. I don't care. I just need an arrow pointing in my,
Right.
in my video.
Exactly.
So that would be the other kind of bad thing, is that somebody, I think this is going to kind of be like the Beanie Babies, that everybody will have all these NFTs and they'll want to get on it, and then they'll be like worthless. And then the people who will be making money are the people that got out and sold all this stuff. And then everyone,
Yeah.
and that's the problem with something like this. But yeah, all
Yeah.
good stuff. And to your
Exactly.
point, you could have a unique image that they can see, but how important is that? You know what I mean? To have that. So it's like, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So let me bring up the other thing that I want to talk about NFTs real quick. And that's, so let's talk about this guy real quick.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So this is an Amico game, right? So when people start talking about Amico and NFT, right, they always seem to come at the argument that the NFT, like the game being the NFT or NFTs being associated with the console, is again the stuff that we were talking about, the tchotchke stuff, like the digital license, or not the digital license, but the like you're gonna have like some kind of thing where the box rotating on your screen or the coin or whatever is a NFT itself. I disagree with that entirely. And what I think that this is, right, that this card is I think that the actual RFID card, these are dual layer RFID, these cards. There are two types of RFID you can have, right? Simple RFID, which is one layer, where you could just have the serial number of whatever it is. So for example, like like your key card for getting in a door or something like that, right? It only has one layer. You can write to it, you can read to it, you can, like you basically say this is the serial number of the card, and this is the user that's authorized it. And then it communicates with a server to kind of like let you in and tells you when you can and cannot enter, right? What I think that this in television is done is on the other layer, on the memory layer. So there's a data layer and a memory layer. On the memory layer of this card, I think they've actually placed the NFT, the digital file, on the card. Now, the reason why I think that's the case is because it makes sense then for why even have this? Why even have it? If it's a gimmick, right? For getting your game onto your console, why even have it available at all? Why couldn't you just put in the number that's on the back of this card and then get your game, right?
Yeah.
Well, because if you have the non-fungible token physically on the card, and you then break this card in half, you don't have the product anymore. So it's technically still a physical product. That's why I guess why they changed the name from game to product.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah.
So if you don't have this card, you're not playing Missile Command unless you go and buy it digitally on the Amico store, right? You have to have this in order to play the game. And the reason why is because, in my opinion, I think it's because the NFT, the other encrypted serial is actually physically on the memory card on this card. But why even do that? Well, the reason why is because then you've secured the three-way handshake between the server that will allow you to download the title, the system that knows that you own the title, and then your key, right? There was a flaw in Microsoft Windows, okay? In the early generation from Windows 8, Windows 7, and Windows 8, where OEM manufacturers for machines started placing a serial number on the motherboards of their machines, right? That serial number was placed there to then call back to Microsoft the OEM key set, because of course your OEMs have different versions of Windows than, say, your box product Windows, which is also different than your volume copies of Windows. For those of you that have, like, you know, if you work at a school, for example, you can get a volume license and put Microsoft Windows on everything, right? You use one big key that lets you in, right? Well, the problem with this is you always had a serial number card at the end of the day. You had a serial that had your copy of Windows as well, right? Because you needed to reinstall. So, or it's the sticker on the bottom of your machine, right? Well, a flaw in this is that if one were to, say, I don't know, edit one's host file, you could point your machine to your local host, your 127 address, and say, hey, this machine is Microsoft. And you know what Genuine Advantage would do? It would look at it and go, you're good. So everyone would just walk away with, you know, whatever version of Windows they wanted to put on their machine, because all they have to do is have an edited host file, right? You know, just like 2 seconds worth of, you know, like fun. But this changes that, right? Because if they program it to look for the unique signature that's encrypted on this card only, that's it. If you don't have this when the authentication is asked for, you are done. It's like literally like walking up to my Retron and saying, okay, say there was a digital way of dumping your ROM, which actually is exactly how the Retron works. You put the cartridge in, it dumps the ROM to the console, you play the game, right? But say that there was an online check that had to check, okay, well, did you own this game? So it's going to dial up to the Retron online store and go, yeah, you own the game. Well, the thing that makes it run without altering the operating system and cracking it, the thing that makes the game run is the actual cartridge, right? The cartridge is the NFT in this equation. So if you don't have the cartridge to put in your Retron when you turn it on, you're not playing that game.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we were like. That's kind of what we were talking about, saying, like, you know, the key, like with having like the physical CD, kind of like that,
right?
Like, yeah, and that's why we don't call it physical media, because it does rely, you know, for the being on, you know, online. It's not 100% offline, but it's, you know, right. That's why it's a physical product. And then I think whether it's an Amico or Sony or any company, it's only as good as their online store stays, unless there's some like internet law that standardizes. But I think it's a step in the right direction, as opposed to just having to have like a CD and all that. Plus, what I think is really neat, that is, I guess, kind of a good way of using an NFT is, like, for people like yourself who went and bought that physical, not only, you know, that physical copy, when you go into the interface, it kind of shows you that stuff virtualized, you know, which I think that's kind of like a neat little like extra special thing. It's not to replace it. It's just kind of like, hey, you know, I think it's kind of a neat way to kind of like thank people. It's like, you know, it's like you didn't pay the money for that. You paid the money for the actual game and to get the other kind of cool stuff that it comes with.
Right.
So I think that's kind of a
and
neat
then
thing.
In the physical sense, right? The reason why other people might want to buy this, and why other companies will probably look at that and go, oh, wait a minute. If we put out products for games that you have to download anyway, because they're getting big enough where we can't put them on discs anymore. If we put out a product that looked a whole lot like this, it had some kind of card or something in it, right, that allowed you to buy it at a store, go home, play it, be done with it, and then take it back to another store like a GameStop, for example, or Best Buy, and then go, I'm done with this. Here's your game, sir. And be able to do that with a digital title physically, then it solves for what happens when an all digital future comes upon us, right?
Yeah.
That's what the game changer really is. That's it right there. It's not necessarily the ability of making sure that your games are secure. That does solve that problem. What it really does is allow for the user, the end user that buys this product, to then transfer their digital license for the first time, like almost ever, from another person to another person by just physically handing them the thing. So if I put this in a box and sent it to you, Ed, and you add an Amico, you have everything you need.
Yeah.
As long as you have the card. As long as the card's in this box when I send it to you, you have everything you need to play that game.
Oh, look at Shows Let Us Comment. I guess Square Enix, there was a fiasco. Oh, I didn't.
If I recall, Square Enix had a big fiasco with NFTs recently. It's going to be rough trying to people understand the potential. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You know, because people need to start talking about what it actually is. And again, it goes to that muddled thing. You know, like, what is an NFT? Is it this piece of thing that's I have a picture, but I could sell you this other copy of a picture and it's the same thing because it's all digital? Or is it something else? Is it now new security for digital media that allows you to be able to transfer it in a physical space? Like, maybe that, is that actually the answer, right? Let's go back and take a look at some more.
It's going to have to be explained to people, and then with NFTs being misrepresented as just, like cosmetic stuff, and
Yep. It's being tied a bit too much to digital art and music, which gives it the bad take. Yep, agreed.
Yeah, exactly.
We were talking about that. NFT will flourish with games in the metaverse, to be honest. Like, we were just talking about that too.
Exactly.
Yes. The takedown. Tom did the same to my Browns. Yeah, I feel for you. Tom is. I don't like the guy, to be honest, but you got to respect him. You got to respect it. He's just the man. He's just the man. I don't know if you follow American football there, Ed, but yeah,
I'm not a huge sport guy.
So my friends and cousins are into Axie games and NFT. Okay, not into NFTs, but if I see them making money, I'm happy for them. Yeah, sure. Again, it's another thing in the marketplace that it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity, I guess, for investment or whatever. And I don't begrudge anyone that has, that does the digital art NFT thing or anything. It's like, you guys do you. For me though, I just can't get my head around that part of the market, right? But this thing, the physical thing, I understand that.
Well, see, that's kind of
that makes it exciting for me.
Well, Rich, you brought up another important thing with getting that, getting the physical stuff over there is let's say if like Amico never launches, the games never come out. I'm just saying, what if? Then at least you have something in your hands. So
right.
You have something collectible. So that is another. That is another upside. I don't think that's going to happen, but if it did,
right, of course, yeah, absolutely. And instead of like, say, for example, you have an NFT for a laser sword in a game, it could be a sort of representation of the same sword in some space game or multiple games. So that's a cool thing.
Yeah.
What if you had an NFT of a digital object that allowed you to cross between games? Obviously you'd probably be on the same publisher, right? Square wouldn't want to play ball with Activision, wouldn't want to play ball with Ubisoft or whatever.
That's
right?
the problem. Yeah.
So, but that would be cool. Like, you would get this NFT in a, like, so let's say a perfect example is in a Nintendo game, right? You get a cool hat from Mario Odyssey 2, and it's an NFT, but you can use the hat in, Mario Kart 80,000, and then take the same hat and then use it again in whatever, and maybe they all have a different ability in each game. That'd be kind of cool. Be a neat thing to do.
Yeah,
that makes it cool. Worth it, right? Because you can have a physical thing, a digital thing that's being represented in other products that you can carry with you because it's tied to your account.
Like you could use it like in the Nintendo family. Yeah. At least.
Yeah. It matters. In a similar manner to crypto. Why is Bitcoin $47,000 per coin? people associate value to the stuff even as completely digital. Yes, I completely agree with you and understand too. The whole crypto market thing is a crazy Wild West angle there, but I understand the reasoning for why people are into crypto, because those people that are into crypto are into decentralization, like a sort of a digital protection, so to speak, for currency, because being decentralized doesn't mean it means it can't be regulated, it cannot be inflated on purpose or deflated on purpose, manipulated by an external source. Which is the reason why people are into Bitcoin, why it's so hyperinflated right now. In my opinion, I think it's hyperinflated because
Yes.
I mean,
Well,
I honestly don't know.
Well, that's kind of the whole thing.
Unless
I
it
feel like
starts
it's
being used as a currency, I don't think
Yeah.
there's a reason for Bitcoin to be at $47,000 a unit
Well,
now.
that's how they start
No.
out, and then I think one of their comments shows. So then it's a pump and dump. Like a bunch of people just invest, they get in early, they sell all this stuff, and then the other people are kind of left like holding the bag of items that are worthless. But at some point, they were worth money because we said they were. So
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
nuts.
And yes, it's all pump and dump. Exactly. Yeah. Yep. And then show it's both, but people believe it's all making art and sets and sell it. To be fair, a lot of companies jumped in and took advantage during the initial boom. Yeah, you're right. It's a good point. That's a good point. So like good conversation, right?
Oh yeah,
good conversation about this stuff. And who knows what's going to happen. This could be the like a thing that winds up becoming the future, and you wind up having, you don't even know, right? You have no idea what it's going to actually wind up being in the end. It could be absolutely nothing, right? We could be talking about how NFTs. Wait, what about NFTs next year, right? Like wait, remember that crazy thing, and now it's gone. But to be honest, I don't think so. I think what'll wind up being is I really think that someone's going to wind up figuring out, what to do with this technology in a unique way that's going to wind up helping secure things in a better way. At least that's my opinion. That's my opinion. So let's go into.
It was a great topic, and I just really want to thank the chat for all the interaction. Funny you said chat with us. We've had this the whole time. It's been fantastic.
Oh, it's awesome! It's so awesome. Yeah, thanks for joining in, guys, and hopping in, because it's such a good like cool thing to just be talking and chilling with everybody. And even if you're watching on replay, don't forget, hop in those comments. We love to talk with you guys and chill and chat. So we got some of those topics off our chests. I've been waiting to talk about that NFT thing for probably a month now.
I know.
And because we've been talking about that. Yes, but fear not, we got some awesome topics to dive into in the coming weeks. All sorts of cool stuff. And then yes, we'll bring it back to we went outside of the retro bubble a little, I guess.
I want to
we'll bring it back. We will bring it back.
Oh yeah, no, it's kind of great. We went up, so that's why we say that for the end. Want to tease something that on our next episode we may have a special guest. That's all we're gonna say.
That's right. Say. Yes, no one might know who it is, but you might know exactly who it is. But anyway, but yes, we're gonna have some cool people. That will be another thing that's gonna wind up happening for Calling All Retro Gamers. We're gonna bring some people in and have some cool and interesting and fun conversations about retro stuff with them, and that'll be really neat. It'll be really neat. So yeah, that's pretty good.
And I should mention too, for those who don't know his show, that he's also a content creator. Does a lot of cool things. So just check out his channel. A lot of stuff with like flashcards and all kinds of cool like geeky things. So
awesome, man.
Yeah,
definitely. Like, hey, it's all about trying to grow everybody, grow the community in all sorts of cool ways, right?
Yeah.
It's a good time. It's a good time. So I think that's about it for today.
Is that it?
I think we're good. I think we're good to go. I want to thank everybody for hanging out and chatting. I mean, it was a fun one.
And if you've gotten this far on the replay, yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, if you have gotten this far in the replay, thank you. Thanks for chilling out and watching. And we will see you not necessarily next week. I think we'll be back for the 18th as the target date for our next show. That's 2 Tuesdays from now. But until then,
well, we created content. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
see you guys.
Calling all retro gamers.
This concludes our broadcast day. Click.